Hey everybody, it's me, Don. Welcome to So Awkward. I don't know what I'm getting myself into with this one, but I thought it might be kind of interesting just to go through and give my thoughts on every winner of the Supporting Actor Award at the Academy Awards. So it's 87. I'm not an awards guy. I don't care. I don't watch the Oscars. I'm not sure if I've ever, certainly not within like 20 years, sat and watched the Oscar ceremony. I don't even read the winners. I don't pay attention. I just love movies. And when I go through this list, it's going to look like, because I kind of briefly perused some of it, this might hurt my cred as a movie guy, but there's some interesting choices. And I've always felt that the supporting awards for actor and actress are the most interesting. I think it's where the award actually usually goes to the best performer, whereas Best Picture is all weird and political. The Best Picture winner is never the Best Picture of the year. The Best Actor, Best Actress is never the best performance of the year. It's always just like weird and strange. Whereas usually there's always something interesting going on with Best Supporting Actor and Actress. Like they'll give a supporting actor Oscar to like a comedy, where it's rarely, or like a science fiction movie or whatever, horror. There's always something interesting going on. So let's dive in. Let's see how this goes. In the first 20, I don't know, it's going to be me saying, oh, I didn't see that. I don't know who that is, but let's get into it. 1936. The first, I believe, Academy Award ceremony. I've got Wikipedia here. So the first winner, Walter Brennan, for Come and Get It. Never seen it. 1937, Joseph Schildkraut, The Life of Emile Zola. Never seen it. Never heard of this guy. Good for him. Walter Brennan again. Good for him. We're 3 Oscars in. We already have this repeat. Walter Brennan for Kentucky. 1939, Thomas Mitchell for Stagecoach. Seen this one. I don't remember Thomas Mitchell's performance. He's always good. He best known as Uncle Billy, I think, from It's a Wonderful Life. That motherfucker who loses the money. They never get it back. The town basically pays for Uncle Billy's fuck up. 1940, Walter Brennan. I guess back in the day there were like 6 actors. And Walter Brennan for The Westerner. Okay, good for him. 1941, Donald Crist for How Green Was My Valley. I love How Green Was My Valley. The only actor from it that I can name would be Roddy McDowell as a little boy. Is Maureen O'Hara in there? A kind of a controversial, because that won for Best Picture over Citizen Kane. Which at the time, How Green Was My Valley, it gets derided because it beat Citizen Kane, but it's a wonderful, beautiful film. Who could have gotten a supporting actor award for Citizen Kane? Joseph Cotten, no. Everett Sloan, maybe? I don't know. I think this was probably well deserved. Walter Brennan was nominated for Sergeant York. He did not win this year. Van Heflin for Johnny Eager. Never heard of it. 1943, Charles Coburn for The More the Merrier. Never heard of it. He beat Claude Rains for Casablanca. I can't comment because I've never seen The More the Merrier, but Claude Rains in Casablanca was pretty darn good. 1944, Barry Fitzgerald for Going My Way. 1945, James Dunn, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. 1946, Harold Russell for The Best Years of Our Lives. Is he the guy with the hook for a hand? I'm not making that up. I think The Best Years of Our Lives is the movie, one of the first movies to really deal with the aftermath of war. It's about soldiers coming home after World War II and basically trying to re-enter society after facing war. For 1946, that's pretty heady stuff. And Harold Russell was cast because he had a hook for a hand. I think it was an actual event. It's not funny. And he's not a very good actor. I think like he was cast for the hook. This is probably a sentimental choice, but it is a good movie, and I remember the scene where some kids are making fun of him, and he gets really mad and he accidentally smashes a window with his hook, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, kids," and he starts to cry. That was probably the clip they showed at the Oscar ceremony. He beat Claude Rains for Notorious. Claude Rains better win at some point. 1947, Edmund Gwenn for Miracle on 34th Street. Chris Kringle. I mean, he's the quintessential Santa Claus. One of my favorite films, certainly my favorite Christmas film. And, I mean, his performance in it is iconic. You can't not fall in love with him. You can't not watch that movie and buy into the fact that he's Santa Claus. Did he deserve the Oscar? Sure. It's a great performance. I'll give him that one. 1948, Walter Huston for The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Walter Huston, John Huston, the director's father. Great movie. Great performance. Okay performance. 1949, Dean Jagger for 12 O'Clock High. Never seen it. 1950, the 23rd Academy Awards ceremony. George Sanders for All About Eve. Wonderful film. Brilliant film. All I remember from All About Eve is Bette Davis and Baxter. I don't remember any men in the movie. Sure. 1951, Carl Malden for A Streetcar Named Desire. One of my movie confessions, and I will be making several here. I've never seen A Streetcar Named Desire. I always mean to. Famous, Stella! Iconic performance by Marlon Brando, one of the greatest, perhaps the greatest film actor of all time. 1952, Anthony Quinn for Viva Zapata. Never saw it, but I love Anthony Quinn. 1953, Frank Sinatra From Here to Eternity. From Here to Eternity is a fine film. Frank Sinatra would probably find in it. I don't remember. It's just weird to think that Frank Sinatra is an Oscar-winning actor. He's a good actor. I like Frank Sinatra. 1954, Edmund O'Brien for The Barefoot Contessa. Is that a cooking show? He beat Lee J. Cobb, Carl Malden, and Rod Steiger, all for On the Waterfront. I think I would have given it to Rod Steiger, but they probably split the vote by having all three of them. 1955, Jack Lemmon for Mr. Roberts. I've tried watching that movie. I found it boring. Sorry, I'm not a Henry Fonda guy. But Jack Lemmon's great. He beat Saul Mineo from Rebel Without a Cause. 1956, we've got Anthony Quinn again for Lust for Life. Never seen it. 1957, Red Buttons for Sayonara. Great film. I love Red Buttons. One of my favorite comedians. Never got a dinner, but he did get an Oscar. 1958, Burl Ives for The Big Country. Never saw it. 1959, Hugo Griffith for Ben-Hur. Controversial opinion, Ben-Hur's overrated. 1960, Peter Ustinov for Spartacus. Controversial opinion again, Spartacus is overrated. George Chakiris for West Side Story. He was Bernardo. 1962, Ed Begley Sr. for Sweet Bird of Youth. Never seen it. I only know Ed Begley Sr. from, he's the racist juror from 12 Angry Men. He's very good in that. He beat Omar Sharif for Lawrence of Arabia. Come on. 1963, Melvin Douglas for HUD. I've actually never seen HUD. It's on my list. I love Paul Newman, but I haven't seen that one. 1964, Peter Ustinov again for Top Copy. Controversial opinion. Top Copy is overrated. But Peter Ustinov is always good. 1965, Martin Balsam for 1,000 Clowns. Never seen it, but I do love Martin Balsam, and he should probably get an award for every movie he's ever done. And I mean that. 1966, Walter Matthau for The Fortune Cookie. Never seen it. Love Walter Matthau. Another person, he should probably get an award for everything he's ever done. 1967, George Kennedy for Cool Hand Luke. He was Dragline. One of my favorite movies. I love George Kennedy in it. Certainly a likable, memorable performance. Oscar worthy? I don't know. He beat Gene Hackman for Bonnie and Clyde, John Cassavetes for The Dirty Dozen, Cecil Kellaway for Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and Michael J. Pollard for Bonnie and Clyde. I'd probably give it to John Cassavetes, but I'm not gonna argue with him. Cool Hand Luke is a great film. Go see it. 1968, Jack Albertson for The Subject Was Roses. 1969, Gig Young for They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Never seen it. Heard of it. It's not on my list. Bringing us to the 1970s. This is where it should get a little more interesting. John Mills for Ryan's Daughter. Maybe it won't get more interesting. 1971, Ben Johnson for The Last Picture Show. Brilliant movie. Everybody in that was great. Did Cloris Leachman also win supporting actress for that? I can't remember. Great movie. 1972. Oh, this is going to be controversial. Joel Grey for Cabaret. Great film. Great performance. But he beat Eddie Albert for The Heartbreak Kid and James Caan, Robert Duvall, and Pacino for The Godfather. I love Joel Grey. This is probably more of a career win. I mean, they probably sabotage themselves by putting 3 people up for The Godfather if they'd just done Pacino. Because it was Pacino. Should be Pacino. But if you haven't seen Cabaret, check it out. It's a great movie. 1973, John Houseman for The Paper Chase. Iconic. Hard movie to watch. Long, pretentious, ponderous. Hard to really care. It's all about how hard Harvard Law School is, right? It's like, oh, I don't give a fuck. Put John Houseman as the professor. John Houseman, one of the producers of Citizen Kane. He beat Randy Quaid for The Last Detail. Believe it or not, there was a time when Randy Quaid was a very good actor. And then he was cast as Cousin Eddie in National Lampoon Vacation. And he was so amazing in the role. And I mean that unironically. I think he became type. He had to play Cousin Eddie in every movie. You couldn't take him seriously again because he was one of the greatest comedic performances ever put on film. But don't see Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure. That's not a good film. And now he's just a crazy, Trumper. Possibly homeless. I don't know. He lives in a box somewhere with Gary Busey. 1974, Robert De Niro for The Godfather, Part 2. He beat Fred Astaire for The Towering Inferno, Jeff Bridges for Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, underrated, and Michael Gazzo and Lee Strasberg for The Godfather Part 2. I love The Godfather. I respect The Godfather Part 2. Whenever I watch The Godfather, which I do monthly, I inevitably have to watch Godfather Part 2, even though I do not enjoy The Godfather Part 2 as much. It's not as fun. I don't really care about any of the characters. Except for De Niro. I liked the parts with De Niro. But does he really do anything in the movie? Does he really have... De Niro's great. I wouldn't call it his best... If I had to... I think I would have given it to Michael Gazzo as Pentageli, because I think he's the most fun character in the film. They got me waiting in a lobby! It's my favorite line in the movie. I think he has the most interesting arc in the film. Think of what it would have done to his career if he had one. 1975, George Burns for The Sunshine Boys. He beat Brad Dourif for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Burgess Meredith for Day of the Locust, Chris Sarandon for Dog Day Afternoon, and Jack Warden for Shampoo. That's a stacked list. All great actors, all great films. Couldn't have gone to any of them. The worst actor of the lot is probably George Burns, and I love George Burns. I love The Sunshine Boys. But that's a career pick. He's not better than Burgess Meredith or Brad Dourif. 1976, Jason Robards for All the President's Men. He played Ben Bradley, esteemed editor of the Washington Post. One of my favorite films. He beat Ned Beatty for Network, Burgess Meredith again for Rocky, Laurence Olivier for The Marathon Man, Burt Young for Rocky. Jason Robards is another one of those actors who should get an Oscar for everything he's ever done. He can get an Oscar for reading the phone book. He's in All the President's Men for 10 minutes, maybe. I would have given it to Burgess Meredith. Burgess Meredith. Rocky would not have 8 sequels or whatever it is at this point without Burgess Meredith. And to some extent without Burt Young as Paulie. I think that's the only one that makes me angry. Should have gone to Burgess Meredith. I mean, the scene where he goes to Rocky's apartment to convince Rocky to let him be his trainer, even though he's neglected him and treated him like shit the past decade. You think my apartment stinks? That's one of the greatest scenes in movie history. Stallone wrote a great script, but Burgess Meredith, he was Mickey. 1977, the year of my birth. Jason Robards, again, for Julia. 1978, Christopher Walken for The Deer Hunter. Never seen it. 1979, Melvyn Douglas for Being There. Brings us to 1980. How long is this? How many more do we have? Like 40 more years to go? I'm going to finish up the 80s, and maybe we'll wrap it up. 1980, Timothy Hutton for Ordinary People. He beat Jason Robards for Melvin and Howard. 1981, John Gielgud for Arthur. He was the butler, Hobson. No, they nailed it. That's iconic performance. He's a Shakespearean actor playing a butler, but he's brilliant. He's brilliantly funny. He's the heart of the movie. Arthur is a movie that you couldn't make today because it's about a rich white drunk and his hilarious antics, but it's funny. And the two leads, John Gielgud and Dudley Moore as the drunk, as Arthur, titular Arthur. Nobody ever played a better drunk than Dudley Moore. 1982, Louis Gossett Jr. for An Officer and a Gentleman. He beat Charles Durning for Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, John Lithgow for World According to Garp, as one of the first transsexuals on film, except for maybe Christine Jorgensen. They may have been the first. James Mason for The Verdict, Robert Preston for Victor Victoria. Another stacked year. I probably would have given it to Charles Durning. 1983, Jack Nicholson for Terms of Endearment. Charles Durning turned down again for To Be or Not to Be. John Lithgow turned down again 2 years in a row for Terms of Endearment. Sam Shepard as Chuck Yeager in The Right Stuff. Rip Torn for Cross Creek. Never seen that one. Terms of Endearment is one of those movies that you think, oh, this is going to be insufferable. So what? Shirley MacLaine is like a 50-year-old who tries to start dating again. It's like, I don't give a fuck about it. But it's a great movie. It's charming. Jack Nicholson steals the show. Darling, you bring out the devil in me. It's always fun watching the devil come out in Jack Nicholson. He's very good. Well deserved. 1984, I apologize. Hang S. Muir, The Killing Fields. Never seen it. He beat Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi in the first Karate Kid. 1985, Don Amici as one of the old people in Cocoon. 1986, Michael Caine. You were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. That's my Michael Caine impression. I won't do it again. For Hannah and Her Sisters. My cat's freaking out. He beat Tom Berenger and Willem Dafoe for Platoon, Denham Elliott for A Room with a View, and Dennis Hopper for Hoosiers. Another stacked year. Damn. Maybe the best year yet. Dennis Hopper was amazing in Hoosiers. Michael Caine's always good. That was probably his last really good performance for the next 20 years till he comes back. And we'll hear from him again. Tom Berenger and Willem Dafoe were so good in Platoon. I think Tom Berenger, handsome, great actor, amazing screen presence. I think he was too good in Platoon. He was so fucking scary. There's nobody scarier or more intimidating than Sergeant Barnes from Platoon. And I think that ruined Berenger's career because I think he could have been a huge leading man but I think he became typecast, and just people didn't want to cast him in this film because he was so iconic. And as just, you couldn't call him evil. He wasn't necessarily the bad guy. I think there are a lot of people who watch that movie and think he's the good guy, which is one of the great things about Platoon and his performance. I think I would have given it to Tom Berenger. 1987, Sean Connery for The Untouchables. He beat Albert Brooks for Broadcast News, Morgan Freeman for Street Smart, Vincent Gardenia for Moonstruck, Denzel Washington for Cry Freedom. These are getting good. These are getting good. Heated. Probably a career win for Connery, although he was very good in The Untouchables. I might have given it to Denzel, but we'll hear from him again. 1988, Kevin Kline, A Fish Called Wanda, the iconic Otto. He beat Alec Guinness, Martin Landau for Tucker, River Phoenix for Running on Empty, Dean Stockwell for Married to the Mob. Another good year. See, this is why I like the supporting actor category, because Fish Called Wanda, that's not going to win any other Oscars. And Kevin Kline was incredibly funny, and I think that deserves... You don't always have to cry in every movie. You don't have to play somebody with a disability. You don't have to play a famous historical figure. You can just be a crazy, xenophobic, paranoid, schizophrenic, or whatever the fuck Otto was. Great movie. No, that's well-deserved. 1989, Denzel Washington for Glory. Can't argue with that, but let's see who we beat. Danny Aiello for Do the Right Thing. Great. Dan Aykroyd for Driving Miss Daisy. Pretty good. Marlon Brando for A Dry White Season. He was good, but I remember him being in that movie for like 5 minutes. Martin Landau for Crimes and Misdemeanors. We'll hear from him again. Denzel Washington for Glory. Possibly possibly the greatest performance by the greatest actor of all time. That brings us to the 1990s, but I think I'm going to wrap it up because I don't want this video to be like 3 hours long that 10 people will watch. Yeah, those are my thoughts on the first 50 years of the Oscar picks for Best Supporting Actor. Comment down below with your thoughts and if I should continue doing this. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.